The Bill Belichick to the Falcons rumors have never been hotter. Welcome into Falcons Today. Matthew Peterson here, breaking down the latest on Bill as we all woke up this morning to a bombshell NFL news drop, which was the Patriots and Bill Belichick were mutually parting ways, and the Falcons have already been listed as a top destination by a bunch of big J's. So we're going to break it all down on today's show. I'll give you my take on the whole thing. But make sure you are subscribed because a Falcons head coaching hire will be happening one way or another in the next couple of weeks here. And I don't want you to miss not only the hire, but the reaction, the news, the takeaway. And so make sure you are subscribed, turn those notifications on, and stay tapped in. But the big news, like I said, was early this morning. I was actually getting home from an early morning airport drop-off. I know, boyfriend of the year. And Adam Schefter tweeted out, Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots are expected to part ways today after a remarkable 24 seasons together. They just wrapped up their press conference, and it really was not much of a press conference. There were no questions. It was just we're going to talk, and you guys are going to listen. But the big news is, where is Bill going to go, if anywhere? Does he want to continue coaching? Well, as Adam Schefter put it, Bill Belichick will want to continue coaching and is expected to draw interest from at least some of the other 7 NFL teams that currently have head coaching vacancies. Quite possibly the Atlanta Falcons. He only listed one team by name, the Atlanta Falcons. Now let's dive deeper into Schefter's breakdown on this. Belichick, who had 1 year remaining on his contract, will be allowed to leave the team without the Patriots seeking compensation. He will want to continue coaching and is expected to draw interest from at least some of the other 7 NFL teams that have head coaching vacancies, quite possibly the Atlanta Falcons, league sources said. More on this from Diana Rossini now, if you don't like Adam Schefter. There aren't many teams with openings that have a willingness to pay Belichick and hand over all power in their personnel department. The Atlanta Falcons have been interested in landing Bill Belichick for weeks, league sources said. Belichick isn't the only candidate they are targeting. Ladies and gentlemen, it's happening. Bill is a Falcon. And I never in a million years thought Bill Belichick, the guy from the Super Bowl, would be the Falcons head coach. But it's happening. All the tea leaves are saying it. They're not even saying it. They are screaming it. Adam Schefter is putting word for word Atlanta Falcons down. Diana Rossini from The Athletic is saying the Atlanta Falcons. Arthur Blank is desperate for a big splash move. And this screams desperation to me. I have no idea if this is going to work out well or if it's going to be an absolute failure. But Arthur Blank has proven that he wants to win now, and he is getting more and more impatient as the years go on. And so what better way to look at the head coaching pool and pick a guy that you think is the closest to bringing you a Lombardi trophy than the guy who did it 6 times in New England. So if I'm Arthur Blank and I'm trying to find a coach that can give us the best chance of winning in the short term, it is probably Bill Belichick. Now, I've got mixed emotions on the Falcons pursuing Bill Belichick, but let's kind of break down more of the rumors out there. So Adam Schefter also added this, by the way. He is trying his absolute best to just say it's going to be the Atlanta Falcons without saying it's going to be the Atlanta Falcons. When he said, Falcons owner Arthur Blank has taken some big swings at other high-profile head coaches in the past. Blank once pursued but didn't land Joe Gibbs. He once pursued but didn't land Bill Parcells. Now the Falcons have a head coach opening, and Bill Belichick is a free agent. So Adam Schefter is not hiding away when he's going after which teams are going to be interested in Bill Belichick. And to me, it screams it's going to be the Atlanta Falcons. So my big question is, will the Falcons give Bill Belichick the keys to the city? Will they give him the green light to do whatever he wants to do? Personnel decisions, draft decisions. The Falcons have a top 10 pick, the 8th overall pick for a 3rd straight season. They are trying to break that run of just slightly below average, slightly below mediocrity. And this is a huge decision to make because the Falcons retained GM Terry Fontenot. And when McKay and Blank spoke to the media, they stood by Terry Fontenot and said the next head coach is going to work with Terry Fontenot. Bill Belichick is not coming to Atlanta to have his hand held by Terry Fontenot. So, are they going to shake things up a little bit and either possibly, I wouldn't say move on from Terry Fontenot, but strip him of a lot of his powers? Or they're going to say, Bill, if you want to come to Atlanta, we're not going to just flip everything over for you. Because you better believe Bill Belichick is not going to want to go to a team where he's got to play by their rules. He's not interviewing the Atlanta Falcons, right? The Atlanta Falcons will be lucky to have Bill Belichick in Belichick's eyes. So if Bill's going down there, he's doing things his way and only his way. He's bringing his staff. He's calling the shots in the draft. He's calling the shots in free agency. And that is different than what it has been under Arthur Smith, Dan Quinn. Go back to the other Smith. Like, this will be a shakeup in ATL. But I want to ask you guys this question. Is Belichick washed? Right? Does he have another Super Bowl left in him? Because that's the ultimate goal here, right? If you're the Atlanta Falcons, you are making a hire to win a Super Bowl. And do you guys think Bill Belichick can win one more Super Bowl? Or are his best days way behind him and he has nothing left in the tank? I always find coaches being washed as kind of a funny segment, or not even segment, but funny like possibility. Like, they're not players. They don't get slower or weaker, right? The game might progress, and they might not progress with it. But I still think, the more I think about it, Bill Belichick is still a very good coach. He won 6 Super Bowls, and not by accident. So with that all being said here, if I'm trying to sell myself on Bill Belichick, this is how I do it. Belichick with a great offensive line, and the Falcons do have a great offensive line. Young skill players in Bijan Robinson and Drake London and Kyle Pitts, all on their rookie contracts. A rising defense, not a defense that I'm going to stand here and say is top 10, but a defense that has some really good pieces in Jesse Bates and A.J. Terrell and Grady Jarrett. A defense that Bill can get his hands on and take what was a pretty average to solid defense under Ryan Nielsen last year, and without making a whole bunch of personnel changes, making it even better. $32 million in cap space, and the number 8 pick in the draft to go out and get a quarterback. I feel like Bill Belichick could do a pretty darn good job with that. And then you toss in the NFC South winner had 9 wins this year. Yeah, you give Bill Belichick a couple home games and all that to put his hands on, and he probably can put together a pretty good team here. I mean, I know that I have been pessimistic about pursuing Bill Belichick, and I think for good reason. I think we're all on the same page that ever since Tom Brady left, well, the numbers speak for themselves, 29 and 38. Last year, they were on their way to the postseason until Jacoby Myers decided he wanted to go to the Raiders a couple weeks early. But Belichick is pursuing Don Shula's all-time win record. He is 15 away from tying it, 16 away from taking it himself, which means he's got at least, 2 more seasons hopefully left in the tank in his eyes, so we can get 8 wins a pop maybe and take that record. So Bill Belichick's resume, it speaks for itself. I don't have to stand here and convince you guys of whether or not Bill Belichick is a good coach. We know that. The question is he still a good coach? Because all this is great. Any team would line up and take that. Would take 9 AFC championships, 17 division titles, 12 Super Bowl appearances across his entire coaching career. But the question is that coach still in there? Or has the game passed him and ultimately not having Tom Brady really caught up to him? That is the big question. And that is the question that Arthur Blank and McKay are going to wrestle with. And I don't have the answer to that question. My opinion is I don't think it's past him. I don't think the game has passed him maybe as much as we think it might have. I think if you give him a pretty good roster, and the Falcons do have a good roster that can get even better this offseason, he can probably still put together a couple of playoff wins. So I'm coming around to the idea of Bill Belichick being the Falcons head coach because I think we have to be. It's happening. He's a Falcon. It's done. Now, with all that being said, we're all going to run through the Falcons interview list because they still have to conduct a head coaching search, as they should. But before we get to the latest head coaching list, I do want to share with you guys an awesome deal going on with our friends at Fanatics, which is this t-shirt and hat combo sale. So not only are you going to get a Falcons t-shirt or a Falcons hat, but you're getting both of them, and they're on sale. So replenish your Falcons wardrobe when you go to chatsports.com/ATL combo. This is also an excellent ooh, I forgot to give someone a Christmas gift. I lied and said it's coming in the mail. And they're like, is the mail the Pony Express? Get this right now, and then you are, good to go. So check it out. I put that link in the comments and description of today's video. Let's talk about the head coaching interview list. Now, this list will continue to grow, but as I film on Thursday morning, it includes Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions, Brian Callahan, the OC for the Cincinnati Bengals, the 49ers DC and former Arizona Cardinals head coach Steve Wilks, former Falcons interim head coach and longtime coach in the NFC South, Raheem Morris, DC for the Lions, Aaron Glenn, and then the Ravens assistant coach / defensive line coach, Anthony Weaver. Now, when you look at the now 8 NFL head coaching vacancies, yesterday I ranked them. It's tough to rank them now because I don't know how you compare the Falcons, the Patriots, and the Seahawks, right? They're all in very different stages of what the franchise's expectations are. But there are 8 openings right now, and I would say the Falcons are one of the top 4 openings. They've got a top 10 draft pick. They've got some good pieces on offense. The roster is ready to win. They just need the right man behind the wheel and a quarterback to not turn the football over. Now, some of the top guys that were on that interview list include the Lions offensive coordinator, Ben Johnson. So he is the Detroit Lions OC going on year number 2 here. 37 years old in his second season as the Lions OC. And under Johnson, Detroit has the number 5 ranked scoring offense, putting up 26.7 points per game. We are talking about the Detroit Lions, ladies and gentlemen. Like, Jared Goff looked as broken as could possibly be at the end of his time in LA and to start his time in Detroit. And now they got a top 5 scoring offense. So yeah, Ben Johnson is going to get a lot of looks. Another name to keep an eye on is a familiar name, Raheem Morris, the former Tampa Bay Buccaneers head coach. And the Falcons did talk about wanting to get a guy who's got some head coaching experience. Raheem Morris does have that head coaching experience. He was, I believe, when he was hired by the Bucs to be their head coach, the youngest head coach in all of American professional sports history. It did not work out the first time in Tampa, and then he comes over to Atlanta. He serves as various coaching roles. He ultimately served as the interim head coach after Dan Quinn was relieved of his duties. And, I mean, the Falcons played better under Morris than they did under Quinn back in 2020. But I don't know if what we saw in 2020 looked like a guy that we want to retain as a head coach for the next 5 to 10 years. But he has been doing a bang-up job with the Rams, serving as their defensive coordinator, helping them win a Super Bowl. So Raheem Morris is definitely a name to keep an eye on. It'll be a little interesting to have him come back to Atlanta, but anything's possible. We saw Vance Joseph, for example, go from being the Broncos head coach to being fired to being their defensive coordinator this year. So don't rule anything out. If I had to rank them, here's how I'd rank them. Ben Johnson, number 1. Bill Belichick, number 2. Raheem Morris, number 3. And Brian Callahan, number 4. I'm pretty confident on these 3 right here. We can debate about the order. And I'm warming up to Bill Belichick because I think as fans, you should always want to believe that your franchise is going to make the right decision. How often does that happen? Not very often. But it doesn't mean you should give up hope, especially when it comes to one of 2 things: selecting a new head coach and selecting a quarterback. Like, those are 2 franchise-changing moments that, when it happens, try to be upbeat about it. And that's what I'm trying to do with Bill Belichick because he's a Falcon. I don't know what else to say, guys. But who do you want the Falcons head coach to be in 2024? Give me a name down below in the comment section. I know that we are, I wouldn't say unanimously on board with Bill Belichick or against Bill Belichick. I think everyone's pretty split on it. But the reality is he's done in New England. That seemed like the biggest hurdle for Arthur Blank to get past. And I also don't know if Arthur Blank would move on from Arthur Smith if he didn't have a pretty good feeling that Bill Belichick would be relieved of his duties in Foxborough. And now that he is, we've had multiple sources say the Atlanta Falcons are a team to watch for. Arthur Blank wants to swing big. There's no swinging bigger than Bill Belichick. That's going to do it for us on today's show. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure to subscribe for more updates throughout the weekend, and we will see you guys later.